I didn't realize right away that something had broken between me and Lori. We had been best friends since we were 5. We made sandcastles together, bought matching markers, talked on the phone for hours, and wrote each other letters even though we lived just 2 blocks apart. Her mom, Mrs. Davenport, often gave us rides to school, and my grandma would bake cookies for us after class. We grew up like sisters, not just friends, but the kind of soulmates who finished each other's sentences and could tell everything from a single glance. But I guess age doesn't just deepen friendship. It also tests it. I met Jake when I was 27. We met at a charity run. He was volunteering at the water stand, and I nearly knocked him over when I tripped. We both laughed. And that's how it started. A week later, we were having coffee. A month after that, I met his mom. 6 months later, we moved in together. Everything moved naturally, with no drama or rush, like a good, grown-up love story. Lori supported me, at least, she said she did. She said she liked Jake, but every time we were all together, there was a trace of sarcasm in her voice. Like she was constantly reminding me, "Are you sure this isn't too fast? Are you sure he's not just playing the part of the perfect guy?" I brushed it off. I thought maybe she was just jealous, still hurting from her recent breakup. But when Jake started planning the proposal, I was over the moon. He put so much thought into it. A whole month of preparation. The ring, the rooftop restaurant, photos of our favorite moments strung around the space, and even a small orchestra. Jake didn't do anything halfway. He asked my friends to help, to pick out a dress for a fake dinner, to distract me while he got everything ready. I knew Lori was helping. I even joked, "Just hope she doesn't spill the beans." I laughed. Back then, it felt funny. But Lori did spill the beans. She called my grandma, the same grandma whose house we spent every summer in as kids, the one who used to give us lemonade and let us build blanket forts in the living room. Lori called her and said, "You won't believe what Jake's planning. But shush, it's a surprise." Of course, that shush lasted less than a day. By evening, my entire family knew. The next morning, Aunt Nancy called me and launched into a furious monologue. How could I even consider marrying a man who did things behind my back? She said real men don't stage stunts for proposals. They talk plainly, like grown-ups. I sat on the kitchen floor, clutching the phone, listening to her rant. Have you lost your mind? I was in shock. This was supposed to be my miracle. My proposal. And it turned into some absurd soap opera. I was barely holding it together. And the worst part, I didn't tell Jake. I decided to pretend I didn't know. I wanted to preserve at least some of the magic. He had no idea the surprise was ruined. I smiled and played along, hiding my eyes when he hinted at the big day. That month was one of the hardest in my life. I felt like I was living a lie every day. When he finally got down on one knee, I smiled. But inside I was numb. I already knew. Instead of fireworks, all I felt was exhaustion and anger. Not at Jake. At Lori. I didn't talk to her for a week. Then another. Eventually, she messaged me. Not a call, just a message. "So how did it go?" I saw the pics. "You looked amazing." I stared at the screen, a wave of fury rising in me. "You told my grandma," I typed back. "You broke the one condition. Jake asked you to keep it a secret. You knew that." Her reply was almost instant. "Well, sorry. But honestly, you would have found out anyway. And come on, it's your grandma, not some random person. She had a right to know." I thought I was doing the right thing. The right thing. That phrase hit me like a slap. As if someone were trying to justify stealing by saying the door was unlocked. You did what you thought was right, I typed, but in doing that, you ruined what Jake had planned for so long. You took away a moment that was supposed to be just mine. And even now, you don't understand why that hurts. She didn't reply. Not until that evening. And even then, it was just. You're being dramatic. It's just a proposal, not heart surgery. If this is all it takes to ruin our friendship, maybe it wasn't that real to begin with. I stared at that message for a long time. I couldn't understand how someone could so easily dismiss years of closeness, memories, and childhood promises. But that's when I finally realized, real friendship isn't about how long it's lasted. It's about whether it can survive adult decisions. The ones that require boundaries, respect, and emotional intelligence. Lori thought she was doing the right thing. That knowing something was always better. That family had a right to know. That her personal judgment was more important than someone else's surprise. I didn't cut her off with a big dramatic breakup. There was no final call, no, we're not friends anymore. I just stopped answering. Stopped texting. Stopped inviting. And the weird thing, she didn't really seem to mind. She kept showing up in mutual friends' stories, commenting on people's posts, posting her own selfies with hashtags like #girlboss and #noregret. And me, I slowly moved on. I learned to find joy again, without her. Sometimes my grandma asked why Lori and I didn't talk anymore. I dodged the question, not because I was afraid, but because I didn't want to reopen the wound. Then one day Grandma said something I'll never forget. You've always been someone who knows how to forgive. But forgiveness doesn't always mean return. Sometimes it just means release. I forgave Lori. In my own way. I let go of that part of myself that was still clinging to the sandbox, the childhood secrets, the summer forts. I accepted that people change. That childhood closeness doesn't guarantee adult maturity. Now I have a new friend, Sam. We met at a pottery class. She doesn't know what I looked like at age 12. Doesn't know my first crush. But she knows when I need space. She listens without interrupting. She always asks, "Do you want advice, or do you just want to vent?" That's called respect. As for Lori, she's in the past. In a box with old letters and photos. A warm memory, but no longer a living one. And yes, I did the right thing.